about to interview the king. What about this?
Oh, that's a bunch of Lakers. And this is Kobe's shoes. It's
Wow.
Albert Pujols' shoes right after a game.
Jeez.
He gave the boys these shoes right after a game.
That's incredible.
And these are, various trophies they've gotten. Signed baseballs. These are bats.
Yeah.
Bats have been given. Over here, we have a lot of awards. Letter from Frank Sinatra and Nancy Reagan. Handwritten letter from President Ford. Various awards. It was King of Bacchus, New Orleans Mardi Gras.
Whose hammer is that?
Presented to Larry King and appreciated. From Covenant Governor.
Who's the governor?
I'm trying to get Gray Davis on tonight.
Jesus. State of Texas.
Wow. Yeah, everything's bigger in Texas.
Yeah.
This is the Ben Franklin Award.
What's your greatest award? Any of these awards that really mean something?
Yeah.
That-
You're
that-
just-
And the other room is the Lifetime Achievement from the Emmys.
Oh wow, that's huge.
It's a lifetime achievement, and the other award were 2 Peabody Awards.
Oh wow,
That's
that's huge. The Peabodys.
and there's a regular
Like,
Emmy.
there's the lifetime achievement.
The Lifetime Achievement Emmy is in the front room. This is a
Okay, I
regular
saw that.
What was the name of the character that you were in charge? Was it Dorothy?
Doris,
Or Doris. Yeah, Doris.
the ugly
Yeah.
sister.
Yeah.
That's the George Bush signature on Ben Franklin Day. A letter from Sinatra. Another letter from John Kennedy Jr.
Tommy Lasorda. There's Tommy Lasorda's seat.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Wow.
This is
There's the wow, Gerald Ford.
And these are books I've written and published in other languages.
Wow.
Kind of crazy, isn't it? All these things happened to me.
Yeah. Look at this. I mean, imagine
When I
how many.
see the first ladies, and they got Hillary, Nancy, Betty Ford, Barbara Bush, Rosalind Carter.
Well, what's interesting
5
is
first ladies.
what's interesting. All these people that you're talking about, you're equally and probably shadow their popularity.
Well,
Do you know what I
because
mean?
it's seen all over the world.
Right.
Bobby Kennedy letter. That letter, I don't know what happened to. Where is it? It's a letter here from John Kennedy Jr.
Wow. Look at that maestro of chin music.
Hi, welcome to Meet Up with Austin. I'm Austin Furman with my legendary guest, Larry King. Thank you for inviting us to your house. First question, how does it feel to be on the other side of the table?
I like it. I like conversation. I like communication. So I like asking questions. I like answering questions. I don't know what you're going to ask, so that's kind of interesting. And I don't walk around thinking about things. So when I'm asked questions, I am forced to think about what I'm going to say to the answer. So I enjoy both ends.
What were some of your interests in high school?
I wasn't a very good student. My father had died when I was almost 10, And I was a good student before that. I kind of lost interest in school, and I really coasted my way through. My only interest was going to ball games and wanting to be a radio announcer. I always wanted to be an announcer. I wanted to be on radio since I was 5 years old. So in high school, I participated in like the Speakers Bureau. I would do debates. I emceed shows that we did. I was not a very good student. Didn't go to college. So my interest in high school was in the extracurricular cultural activities and our high school teams. You know, I supported the teams. I kept score. I was manager of the basketball team.
Mhm.
But studious I was not.
You said you went to ball games and you were very much interested in baseball. Did you have any role models or inspirations?
Well, I always admired athletes who succeed. Jackie Robinson, I was at his first game. And I interviewed him twice later in life. And he was certainly a hero to me as he was to America and to the civil rights movement. Those were some great moments, but he would be a hero. But I had broadcast heroes. You know, I had Jackie Gleason was a mentor to me, and I it's not a good idea to imitate people, so I never imitated anyone. But I had people, a lot of people I looked up to.
Mhm. You said you went to Jackie Robinson's first game. What was it like to be at his
It
first
was
game?
it was thrills. I was 13, and when he walked out on that field in that white uniform, Dodgers had the whitest uniform ever. This was Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, and Jackie was a very dark black man, and so the contrast of Jackie and that shirt and the Dodgers so embellished the whole acceptance of finally getting blacks into baseball, which has been terrible. They've been kept out. But we knew it was a historic moment.
Do you think that he was going to be a big time baseball
No,
star?
we knew he'd be good. He was not a great, he was not, baseball wasn't his best sport. His best sport was football, then track, then basketball, then baseball. But baseball is where he could make money. So he was playing with the Kansas City Monarchs, making a pretty good living. And the Dodgers came, and the rest is history.
Right. Obviously, you worked your way up with Larry King Live, but tell us about some of your voiceover work.
Well, my voiceover, the only, I've done Shrek, three Shrek movies in which I played a woman. Doris, the ugly stepsister. I did a lot of commercials in my life. And I did the Bee movie with Jerry Steinfeld, in which I was a bee. I was Larry B. King. And he was another bee, and I interviewed him in my bee cave. It was very funny. It was a lot of fun to do. But most of my work has been on camera, on microphone. I've been in the business 59 years. If I make it to next May 2017, I'll be on the air 60 years in 7 different decades. And I pinch myself every day because, Austin, all I ever wanted to do was be on the radio. That was my number one wish. And when that came true, I thought I was in manna from heaven, but I never knew about there'd be a CNN or worldwide television, or who knew there'd be worldwide television. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And now the internet, and I'm doing on Hulu, but I'm doing the same thing I did when I was 23 years old, which is ask questions.
Yeah.
I'm transmitted differently, with cable and satellites and internet, but I'm doing the same thing. I've always been curious.
Yeah. You mentioned internet. Things have changed a lot since you started your career in 1957. How do you think internet has changed? Are things better, worse?
Well,
easier, better?
there's better and worse. If we never invented the airplane, no one would have died in an airplane crash. So you take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
The good is a lot of information. The bad is a lot of misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
The good is a lot of speed. Get information fast. Bad is fast is not always better. You can get tons of information, but the internet has hurt newspapers. And I'm a newspaper guy. I love newspapers.
Right.
I'm lost without the New York Times. It's the first thing I do every day. And The internet has hurt. It's diminished the role of the newspaper. But it's progress, and you can't stop progress. You can't stop. If someone is working somewhere on inventing something, every time something new happens, like Uber, wow, that was one guy with one idea. That's incredible. A friend of mine started Twitter. One guy, one idea. Worked for a summer. He was in college. He had a summer job for a taxi cab company, sending out messages to the cab drivers to go pick up this person in 140 words or less.
Mm.
They would send out these men. You got the idea why couldn't, that all amazes me. So the advancement of technology is so overwhelming to me that I can't even. So obviously the good does more than the bad, but there's a bad aspect to it too. They raid, people invade accounts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that.
Right. You've done many interviews over your career. Are there any that you're most proud of?
Well, someone estimated I've done close to 60,000 interviews, and because I did radio and television all those years.
60,000.
Print interviews, yeah, I guess I did. So most proud, I guess, 8 American presidents, a lot of world leaders, a lot of big stars, and people who didn't do interviews. Sinatra, long interview with Sinatra. I did Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela.
We're learning about Malcolm X in American history right now.
Malcolm X taught me a great deal. He was an incredible man. He taught me to think about the plight of the black man. And I'm very liberal, and I always thought, well, I was really conscious of. But then he said to me, do you know what it's like to never see yourself on television except as the maid in the house of someone? You're invisible. You never see a black Santa Claus. You never see a black doing a commercial. What do you think that's like? He's like a kid to grow up. Never sees himself in any position other than a butler or a maid or a doorman. What do you think that's like? And that really struck me. I never forgot that.
Since then, have you built up a strong friendship with Malcolm X?
Well, he passed away. He was killed.
Mm-hmm.
No, I never had a friend. I tried. I very rarely developed close friendships with people I've interviewed. I have a friendship. I had a great friendship with Governor Mario Cuomo of New York. When he died, it was so sad to me. I have a friendship with Bill Clinton. Who else?
Nancy Reagan.
Nancy Reagan. We were great friends. George Clooney was a friend. Sinatra was a friend. But pretty much, I always kept the professional different from the personal.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned American presidents earlier. Who was your favorite that you interviewed, if you were forced to choose one?
The most fun was Clinton. Because he was so smart and on top of things. They all had pluses. Reagan was a great storyteller. George Bush, he could talk baseball, kind of a regular guy. Jimmy Carter was very smart, hands-on. Richard Nixon was a little paranoid, but brilliant. Obama, very professorial, but on top of things. Mm-hmm. George Bush the first, a real good guy. Honest, and fun to be with. And Gerald Ford was cut as salt of the earth right out of Michigan. I like being with all of them, but if I had one, it would be Clinton.
Also, you're active in charity. What organizations are you most passionate about?
Well, I have the Larry King Cardiac Foundation. I had heart surgery and a heart attack years ago, and I started this foundation which helps people who can't afford it to get heart procedures. That's going away now with Obamacare, so we're going to be more educational. I'm also on the board of the Juvenile Diabetes Foundation. I have type 2 diabetes. And I support a lot of causes. I support the Beverly Hills Police. I do events for them and contribute to them heavily to their black and white ball. And
Larry, if you were forced to make a top 3 of the most charismatic people you've interviewed, who would those people be?
charismatic,
Charismatic.
you know, I've been doing it so many years. You know, in different fields it would depend. It certainly would be Sinatra, George Clooney, Angelina Jolie, very charismatic Brad Pitt. You know, that's in entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
All the presidents have charisma. You couldn't be president if you didn't have charisma.
Yeah.
I've interviewed great scientists, Dr. Edward Teller, who invented the hydrogen bomb. I invented great district attorneys, a lot of prominent lawyers. To pick one out,
It's hard to decide.
I've done too many interviews.
It starts to blur, I guess. I mean, I guess there isn't like somebody like, bam, that guy I'll never forget. I guess you get hit with so many
There's
of them.
too many people
it's like
never to forget.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had too many never forgots.
Right.
What do you have in the pipeline for this year in terms of projects?
Well, I'm doing my show on Aura. I'm doing a podcast with my wife once a week. The show is on Hulu. I'm on R.I.P, and I'm in Europe and South America with that show. And we have a line of bedding coming out called Sleep Like a King. Boy, and I make a lot of speeches. I like speaking. I'll be in Phoenix next week at the Muhammad Ali dinner. I'm dean of the Friars Club in New York. We're honoring Jerry Lewis in a couple weeks. I do a lot of speaking. I love speaking. I like making people laugh. I can't be inactive. I couldn't retire. No, I'm 82, but I don't feel 82. The odds were against my ever being 82. You know, I had a heart attack years ago. And I've got an agenda that never ends. I love working.
Mm-hmm.
I love the whole business of communicating. I love.
You said earlier in an interview that you don't have to love your wife, but you have to love your kids. What do you mean by that?
Well, the only unrequited love in the world is parent for child. You don't have to. I mean, you could. Your wife. Hey, there's divorce. You don't divorce your kids. If your kid is a criminal or your kid is the president, you love him.
Right.
You can feel sorry for him. You can be angry at him, but the love is unrequited. Unrequited. That's the only love that's unrequited is parent for child.
If you could go back and change one thing in your entire life, what would that be?
The day I started smoking. Smoking caused my heart attack, and I had it when I was 53 years old. I was lucky that I had it where they could get it under control and do surgery. But if I hadn't smoked, and I smoked because my father smoked, and I wanted to be like him, and he died when I was younger. But that would be the day. If I could have that day back, I'd have never started smoking.
What's the most important thing you've learned in life?
Loyalty above all. Professionally, what I learned was that I never learned anything when I was talking. So I always listened to the guests. I asked short questions, try to draw the guest out, because too many people that I see now in broadcasting, they like the sound of their own voice. They get on soapboxes, they pontificate, they yell. Not my kind of. So my motto is, I never learned anything when I was talking. And the number one attribute I look for in people is loyalty.
All right. Well, that wraps up Meet Up with Austin. I'm Austin Furman with my legendary guest, Larry King.
Austin Freeman, you're very good. If you want to be in this business, is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Stay with it because you're going to do very well.
Thank you.
Someday you'll be seeing on major television the Austin Freeman Show. Pay attention to him.
How'd the interview go?
The interview went very well. Very pleased with it. Larry was very nice, and he was great.
What did he leave you with?
And at the end, he told me that I will be somebody famous and that I will be on TV someday.
He blessed you.
I was blessed by the king.
Can't do better than that.
Can't do better than that, baby.